Hey everyone, so here I'm going to be going over a new Handlock deck that I've made since the release of Naxxramas. It's pretty much the same story as your regular Handlock deck, with the addition of Nerubian Egg into the mix. And with that addition of Nerubian Egg, I've also put in the Void Terror, because they make an excellent combination with each other. Normally Void Terror, there aren't a lot of good ways to use this card, but Nerubian Egg is actually one of the few cards that combos with it very well, which makes it worth having in the deck. Also, because Nerubian Egg and Void Terror both benefit from Power Overwhelming so much, I decided to put a second one in the deck, whereas normally most lists only run one. The other difference is that I've cut a Siphon Soul from the regular list, because I feel like the metagame right now is you need to be spending mana either playing your own large threats, or your removal needs to be less expensive like Soulfire. So I have the one Siphon Soul mainly for large creatures like Ancient of War or Ragnaros, stuff like that. But in general with this deck, you want to be playing your own threats rather than removing theirs for high mana costs. You're better off just spending your mana playing minions that are so large that they have to spend their entire turn dealing with them. Stuff like Twilight Drake, Mountain Giant, Void Terrors. It's a really nice combination to go Void Terror and Nerubian Egg on turn 5, because you get a 3/5 and then you get a 4/4. So overall you're getting, 7/9 of stats for only 5 mana. It's a really good deal. Plus there's other ways to use these cards in the deck, like Ancient Watcher. If you don't have a Sun Fury, you can just put a Void Terror down, and all of a sudden you have an extra giant in the deck. So if they've already used all of their hard removal, it actually makes the deck more consistent, because a lot of the times with Handlock, what could happen is you'd play your giant on turn 4, and it would get big game hunted, and then you'd play your Drake, and it would get silenced, and then you'd run out of threats for a couple turns, and you wouldn't really be doing much. You'd maybe play like an Ancient Watcher and taunt it just to pass the time, and then you'd like maybe faceless something or remove something with a Siphon Soul. But now with the addition of the Void Terror, there's actually more threats to fill the mid game with, so you don't just run out of threats as easily as some other Handlock decks like the ones from before. So as to what cards I cut to fit these cards in, I got rid of Mortal Coil. You'll notice that there's none of those, and I got rid of the Owl. The reason I cut these cards is because they're generally not very high impact, and in really fast metagames, you want cards that are very high impact, because it's oftentimes you either, you need to have something that can threaten the enemy, or else they'll just keep playing stuff that can threaten you. And you don't want situational cards. You want cards that are going to put stats down on the board and always be a threat. And I had been cutting Mortal Coil for a while. I originally had started at 2, and then I went down to 1. And now that I have really good cards to put in the deck, it's down to 0. So I feel like it's not a card that you actually need. It's more of a card that was just filler, just because there wasn't 30 good cards to put in the deck. The second Power Overwhelming, that found its way in there. With both Mortal Coils are gone. There are no Owls. Owl is a card that is actually better now, because there are more silenced targets like Nerubian Egg. But I feel like it's just worth it to have the extra space. I'd rather play my own threats than spend cards semi-dealing with the opponent's threats. Owl doesn't entirely deal with a threat that the enemy plays. It only deals with the Death Rattle or the effect that the card has. It doesn't actually deal with the minion itself, so it's not actually dealing with the minion. Whereas, if I have to choose between kind of dealing with minions or just playing my own broken stuff, I want to just play my own broken stuff, right? So, it's almost always just going to be better to play your own powerful cards rather than cards that are situationally good at dealing with the opponent's powerful cards. Because what happens is, by having your own powerful combinations in the deck, it just makes it more consistent, instead of having a handful of situational stuff. So I've just added more minions to the deck, more mid-game. There's Sunwalker, Sylvanas for the top end. Faceless Manipulator is really good with all the large creatures that are in the deck. And a lot of the time with his Void Terror, what will happen is the enemy will actually just run out of hard removal. Because you play so many large giants. And it ends up being just as good as like another mountain giant. Anyways, I guess we'll jump into the deck now. We'll start playing some games. So I'm against a Druid. This is normally a good matchup, but if they have double Force of Nature combo, it can be really tricky. In this matchup, usually you just want to tap until turn 4 and then play a large threat like a Mountain Giant or a Twilight Drake. So I'm pretty lucky to have drawn a Mountain Giant already. I have a lot of endgame threats in my hand right now. I need some more early game to round out my curve. Okay, so he had the Wild Growth, which is really good for him. Nothing I can do about that, though. I have to play my own game, drop my minions on curve. Ideally, he won't have a way to kill the Mountain Giant, and I'll just Faceless it on turn 5. That's what I'm going to hope for. I could Soulfire this, but I feel like a 2/4 isn't worth a Soulfire. It's not threatening enough. I'd rather save this for a charged Druid of Claw or an Azure Drake, something like that. Okay, so this is normally a pretty powerful move that he just did, but because I can deal with his Violet Teacher with my Giant so easily, I'm actually not worried at all. And because he's letting me Faceless my Giant, I'm not actually worried about dying to Savage Roar, unless he has 2 of them, which would be like incredibly unlikely. Next turn, I can go Watcher, Watcher, Sun Fury, and protect myself entirely, while also having the double Mountain Giant down to get an advantage. I would be incredibly surprised if I died here. So now I'm kind of wondering just how greedy I can get. He didn't have... He used an Innervate already, so he's not likely to Innervate Force of Nature Savage Roar. He didn't double Savage Roar me last turn. So I know he doesn't have 2 of those. I could just do the double Ancient Watcher taunt and go face. Or I could just drop Sylvanas. I think I might just drop Sylvanas and just be super greedy. This might be too greedy though, because it lets him hit me for 7, puts me to 13. But then I'll always be able to do the double taunt play. So I think... if I double taunt though, it's completely safe. I think I will just do the double taunt play, just because it's extremely safe and it's still also extremely powerful. And then the following turn, I can do something like Sylvanas Power Overwhelming if I need to. I have a lot of bursts in my hand. What is this? 8, 14 damage. So I actually have game next turn. This is 10, 14, 16, 24. That's a quick game. So that's an example of how this deck wins. I didn't get to use the Void Terror yet, though. I'm actually against the same Druid that I just faced last game. So same story, just looking for my Drakes and my Giants. I kind of have an idea of what type of deck he's running because I just faced him. So I know what cards to expect. If I'm lucky, he won't have Wild Growth this time. Okay, I'm not lucky. He had it again. Okay, there's the Drake. Showing up just in time. I do have the Faceless again. So if I play the Drake and it survives the turn, I'll be able to copy it, which is an extremely powerful move. Okay, with the Innervate. Power of the Wild, okay. So this is really powerful. That's kind of worrying. I do have the Molten Giant, so I can take some damage. But what I'm worried about is just him Savage Roaring and killing me. Savage Roar here would deal 14, 18, 20 damage. So I'm not actually worried about dying. So I could just go Drake. Then maybe I can't even Shadow Flame. I'd have to taunt maybe next turn. We'll have to see what happens. That's kind of a ridiculous board to have to deal with on turn 4 though. I could Shadow Flame here and then just come back next turn with the Sunwalker. That might be my best play. I think I'll do that. I don't need him creating any more tokens. And he has less cards than me. So I think my best chance is just to sacrifice initiative. Let him... I'm basically counting on his next turn being weaker than whatever it would have been with the board on. With his minions on board. So I'm just hoping my Sunwalker will be strong enough to defend me next turn. And if not that, I can go Nerubian Egg, Watcher, Sun Fury. Okay, nice. This is really good. I'm just going to play the Sunwalker. It's generally better to play the big minion, the minions that cost a lot of mana first, because they're not as flexible cards. These are the types of cards you want to hit on curve, whereas cards like Watcher, Sun Fury, I can play at almost any turn, because they're so flexible on their mana cost. So I think Mountain Giant. So I can Siphon Soul, obviously. That's like one of the easier plays I could do. But I could also Mountain Giant. And I think that might be the best play, because it creates an 8/8. Like, if I can create a minion bigger than this, it's better than just killing this, unless I'm worried about dying. And if I can heal myself for 3, I think I don't have to worry about dying. So I'm going to play this and then heal myself. And if he kills my Sunwalker with the 5/5, I can just run the 3/3 into it or something. Or I can just taunt up and let it kill like a Watcher or a Nerubian Egg. Or maybe I'll draw Soulfire or something. Ideally, I'll be able to copy this. Ideally. Always look for ways to use the Faceless Manipulator profitably. It's one of the more powerful cards in the deck. Innervate, he's not done yet. So it looks like he's setting up for a combo, maybe. Oh, that's a good card. Do I use that here? It only really kills the 5/1. The 1/2 comes back to life with the 2 spiders. I can Siphon Soul and Nerubian Egg. I can Faceless, attack that, and then taunt. I feel like this is such an awkward turn. I think Siphon Soul Watcher might be my best play. Even though I could Faceless. This is a hard turn. I think I'm going to do this, though. It's a little bit paranoid of the combo, but he has drawn most of his deck, and he probably has 2 copies of it. Okay, I don't really think I need to worry about the combo right now, because if he does it, he only does 17 damage. So I think just slamming the Molten Giant here is fine. And then next turn I can go Nerubian Watcher Argus, or I can go Faceless Argus. I'm just going to play the Giant here. I don't think I have to worry about dying. I almost had a heart attack there for a second. I thought that he used both both innervates, but I got worried. Okay, so now, let me think. Okay, I want to get the Watcher and the Nerubian Egg down. He's used both swipes, so I could tap behind the taunt line. I could just go tap Nerubian Egg, Watcher, Defender. I feel like that would be a strong move. Next turn I can Faceless, Farseer, Taunt, or play whatever I draw. I haven't drawn the Void Terror yet. Void Terror would be an insane draw right now because I'm going to Power Overwhelm. Oh my god, I drew it too. Okay, this is insta-played. Check this out. Bam. I don't even know if that was the best play, but this is what I'm going with. Now I have Void Terror. And I can copy the Void Terror. Or I could just copy the taunt. Maybe I should heal and taunt and then copy the Void Terror next turn. That might be safer. I think I'll do that. I don't want to die to some random shit. I'm going to taunt these ones though. Because I don't want him to kill this. I'm not even going to attack the 1-2 because it actually makes this combo stronger if I attack that. By spawning two separate minions. If I can get this guy copied, I'm in pretty good shape. Okay, so there's combo number 2. Bam. Oh, am I dead? Oh, I'm at 3 life. Three life is not a lot of life. $10, $13, $17 damage. I'm not even going to tap. I think I have to do this and just hit him in the face. I could kill one of these. How technically I could kill both of them. Maybe it's worth the Soulfire. He's used 2 Saboteurs and 2 Forces of Nature. He's used 2 swipes. Druid of the Claw is 4 damage. Druid of the Claw would kill me no matter what. It would be 4 plus 6 and 7. Keeper of the Grove is 2 damage, so that would be 4, 5. Okay, I'm playing around Keeper of the Grove by killing this. Oh well. Warlock versus Warlock. I think most people are playing Zoo right now, but I should wait for his mulligan to see what he's playing. Going first with a mountain giant in the mirror is extremely powerful. If he sends away 3 cards, I'll put him on Handlock. If he sends away less than 3, I'll put him on Zoo. Only threw away 1 card. I'm gonna throw away the mountain giant. If he only threw away 1 card, he's most likely Zoo. Can I keep this in the Zoo match? I don't think I can. I think it's too slow. I think I just need to find Hellfire. And Molten Giants. There was actually research done to analyze how many cards they keep in their opening hand and how likely they are to be Zoo or Handlock. And the more cards they keep, the more likely they are to be Zoo. And the less they keep, the more likely they are to be Handlock. And the reason for that is because in Handlock, you want to be mulliganing almost everything, trying to find a giant, or your Hellfire, or your Molten Giant. So you're always searching for specific cards and matchups. Whereas with Zoo, your cards are mostly interchangeable. Like your 1-drops all kind of do the same thing, your 2-drops all kind of do the same thing. It's just minions you put down. So there's more reason to keep cards in the Zoo when you're playing Zoo. I'm going to drop the Nerubian Egg and then Hellfire next turn. And then I'm going to have a 4/4. And he will have nothing. If he plays his own egg, I'll just Soulfire it. This is going to be a really strong turn for me, the Hellfire. He'll pretty much need Soulfire to come back, I think. I wonder what he's thinking about. He must have a 1-drop or something. Or he might be trying to play around Hellfire, maybe. The Void Terror. I have a 4/4 and you have nothing! Wahahaha. Okay, cool. And you can't even play Doomguard yet. That's really good. Ah, he had it. He's tapping a lot. Oh, he threw away the Doomguard. Nice. I might actually just play the Void Terror as a 3/3 and then give it taunt. Okay, well now I drew this, I'll probably just play this and give it taunt. I'm gonna save the Void Terror for after I play Power of Roaming. I'll most likely just play Sunwalker next turn. Sunwalker is a really strong defensive card. And 17 is a lot of life at this stage in the game. The only thing I really need is a Molten Giant, and I should have this game. That's a really strong move, but I can Soulfire the Dark Iron Dwarf. Ooh, I drew it. What do I do here? So I could actually Power Overwhelm, attack, Void Terror, and then Sunfury. I think that might actually be better than Sunwalker. I'm gonna go for it. I hope he doesn't have Owl. I almost don't want to Soulfire because I don't want to discard either of these cards. 6, 7. I think I have to. Please do not have Owl. Zoos almost never have Owl, but since Nax, I've seen some of them playing it to fight against stuff like the Nerubian Eggs. So I'm kind of worried now. Because normally this would be like an auto-win play. But since Nax, it's not so much. I'm going to play Argus. I'm just going to hit him in the face for 10. So this looks like I'm going to win. The Void Terror man is really strong in this deck. Power Overwhelming Void Terror. That's like a free 4/4 buff. Don't hit my Void Terror. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to tap and play Sunwalker. Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to do this again. Look how strong this is. I get a 9/6 for 3 mana. That's actually insane. So Shaman versus Handlock is not a good matchup. So I'm going to be playing the Mountain Giant on turn 4. In this matchup, you really want to draw Hellfire. This is a nice combination right here, because it lets me trade with the Nerubian Egg, kill a minion, and then spawn a 4/4. But it's something I want to be playing later on in the game, because I need to be tapping and then I want to play the Giant on turn 4, so I don't really have time to play this before then. And the Faceless Manipulator I'm going to throw away, because it's too likely that the first Giant will just get hexed. And then I'll have the Faceless sitting in my hand. Even though Twilight Drake gets Earthshock in this matchup, it's always a card I like to see. Because if they don't have the Earthshock, sometimes they have to hex it, which leaves room for the Mountain Giant to get through. And if it's a bad matchup, I don't mind taking risks like that. This card's a pretty large threat. I think I might play the Watcher. Normally I'd drop the Earthen Ring Farseer on turn 3, but it kind of just gives him a Lightning Bolt target. And then it will give him a reason to make his Unbound grow bigger. So, I think I'm just going to drop the Ancient Watcher. In this matchup, Hellfire is a really important card because it's one of the easier ways to deal with Feral Spirits and Flame Tongue Totems and all the random totems that they put down. I think I'm going to drop the Twilight Drake first, because next turn I can go Giant Coin Sun Fury if I do it like this. If he does an Earthshock or Hexus, I'll just go ahead and Faceless it though. Getting value out of Faceless while you can is really good. Especially because if he has an Earthshock the first one, he's not going to have an Earthshock for the second one. And it'll just snowball my lead. But we'll see what he does. And if he goes all to my face, it'll just make me have my Molten Giant faster, so I actually don't mind this if he doesn't remove my Drake. Okay, so he had to Hex it, which means he's most likely not going to have a Hex available for my Mountain Giant. So I can either tap Giant, or I can Giant Coin Sun Fury. If I Giant Coin Sun Fury, I have to worry about Lightning Storm, because he does have spell power. He could spell power and then run his whole board into my Giant. And then I have 3 mana left over. I think I'm just going to go for this play anyway. It's the safest. I already have the double Molten Defender Argus play, so I can afford to get rid of a taunt here. A Shadow Flame would be really nice to have had. Lightning Storm, there it is. This is also coming in handy that I played the Watcher over the Farseer. Three mana left over. I expect I'll see either like a Lightning Bolt or a Flame Tongue Totem, something like that. If he runs that in, that's really good for me. I really need a Soulfire right now. So the super greedy play would be a tap and play both Molten Giants. I would be at 12 and he'd only need 6 damage to kill me. He's too overloaded, so he'll have 5 mana next turn. How can he deal 6 damage? I feel like if he had a lightning bolt or something, he would have played it to finish my giant rather than using his minion. And then if this pays off, I can go Earthen Ring Farseer or Argus next turn. So I'm just gonna try it. Oh, he had Leroy, okay. That does it. And he has a lightning bolt too, that's really strange. I'm surprised he would throw his minions into my giants last turn rather than using spells to kill them.